Hey kids, Mr. Flyer here, hope you're well. I'm out and about today on another first impressions review. Today I'm riding the big old Triumph 1200 Scrambler XC. I've not seen too many reviews of the XC, seen plenty of the XE, which is a slightly more expensive version. But if you're interested in this bike, stick around, stay tuned. I'll give you my first impressions review. So the Scrambler 1200 XC then, as I mentioned before, this is the slightly cheaper version of the Scrambler 1200, the XE being the more pricey version. That's about £2 more than this, and the XE, X-Ray Echo, is the more off-road, oh my word, is the more off-road focused machine, which is great if you're big on doing off-road stuff. I have ridden the XE. Go and check out my review. I'll put a card up in the corner somewhere on that one. I did enjoy the bike, but it was very tall for me. I'm a medium-sized fellow at 5'8" with a 32-inch leg, and I just found I was on a bit too much on tippy-toe, so I don't think I'll be taking that one off-road. So I was very intrigued to have a go on the XC and see how it compared. So this bike has a bit of a lower ride height. It's something like 830mm seat height instead of 860, something like that. We'll go through the specs in detail shortly. It's got a lesser electronics package in that it doesn't have the IMU controlled ABS and traction control. It still does have ABS and traction control, of course, and a few other bits and bobs that we'll go through again when I go through the walk around and we do the spec a little bit later. But I've not seen that many reviews on the internet of the XC, because obviously everybody's been focusing on the what's perceived as the top end model, but I wanted very much to have a go on this one, and I've picked this one up this morning from Triumph. So I've been riding it for about 100 miles so far today. I've been riding it for a couple of hours, so I've had a fairly good ride on it to get my initial impressions, and I have to say, out of the two machines, I prefer this one. It's just more manageable for me personally, and all the stuff that this is lacking from the XE aren't necessarily things I would want anyway. So that plus the around about £2 saving means that the XC is probably the one I'd go for. But anyway, I've kind of given you my conclusion before I've actually gone through the first impressions review. So park that on the back of your mind. Let me take you through the practical aspects of the bike. So Triumph came out with the 1200 Scrambler probably about a year ago now when they launched it to us. A bike we'd all been waiting for a long time. Of course, they've had the Street Scrambler out for a while, and before that the Bonneville Scrambler, bikes that I absolutely loved. But this, the 1200 version, is sort of the premium bike, if you like. It's got the really powerful engine out of the Thruxton, although it has been changed a little bit from the Thruxton, in that it's got some new internals, and also the tuner's changed to give it more low down grunt, which is more appropriate for a Scrambler, I guess. But it goes like a stink, this bike. It feels really fast. So a lovely engine. It's also got Triumph sort of next generation TFT. I've got this actually set in night mode at the moment, which gives you white on black, which I think looks great. And I've got this, it also has a couple of presentations. I've got this in what's called the quartz presentation that I think looks nice as well. Now, I'm not necessarily a big fan of TFTs generally, and particularly on retro style bikes. I think actually a bike like this would be better off with classic dials. But if you're going to go TFT, that one is a big improvement on the previous Triumph TFT. I have to say, it's nice and clear, and it's pretty intuitive how you use it as well. It's controlled via this little toggle switch here, this little joystick just underneath the indicator button, and as I say, it's quite intuitive to use. I don't have a manual for this bike, but I've worked out how to change the engine modes, how to change the presentation, and everything else is all very straightforward via that little stick. The downside is this little joystick here does get in the way somewhat, I find, with the indicator. So several times since I've been riding the bike today, I've gone to go for the indicator and I've hit the joystick instead and end up not indicating before I've turned. So that's a bit of rubbish. That's the downside. Other practical points: riding position, very much an upright riding position. My back is straight. You could ride like this forever. My legs are pretty much at 90 degrees. Maybe they're a little bit at an acute angle, but it's not a sporty riding position at all. So if you are a taller person, this bike, and of course its taller brother, the XE, will suit you down to the ground. That combined with the bench seat, which means you can move forward or back to find a a comfortable position for you, means that the bike should suit lots of people. And also standing up on this bike, the bike has got beautiful balance. Riding it stood up is lovely. I find myself gripping the bike at the engine cases on the left hand side and around the exhaust on the right, which might sound a little bit odd, but actually it feels really comfortable and natural stood up on the bike. One of the things I have noticed talking about the engine cases and the exhaust there is that when you are on a bit of a journey, as I was this morning on the bike after I picked it up, you do get a little bit of heat off the engine. Now here in Blighty, even though I'm recording this in the summer, it's not a particularly warm day, I actually found that heat quite useful because I got some nice heat wafted on me and kept me warm. But if you're in a hot country or on a really hot day, that could become a bit of a nuisance. Right, let's just take this opportunity to overtake, nothing coming. Really does fly, this bike, there's no lack of power. It's one of those bikes that's a great do-it-all bike. You could tour on this, you could commute on this, you can have fun around the lanes on it. Beautifully light clutch action on here as well. One thing it doesn't have, which I think would be great, is a quick shifter. Let's come around this way just for the change. Oh, bit of gravel about and horrible pothole bumpy road. But the suspension on this, which is fully adjustable, and Öhlins as well, very nice, is as it's set out the factory, really nice. Comfortable ride, it's not too, you know, it doesn't jar your feelings out, it's not too hard, not too soft, very nice indeed. That, by the way, is one of the other differences between this and the XE. This, the XC, has slightly smaller forks on the front, slightly less travel on the suspension, both front and back. Again, things that make the XE more off-road focused, but not really of interest to me as a predominantly road rider. But no complaints with the suspension on here at all. Handling is lovely. Not too keen on the looks of the mirrors on here. These are obviously in keeping with its kind of retro style, but they're a bit Mickey Mouse for me. They work, generally speaking, pretty well, but I did notice earlier when I was on faster roads that at high motorway speeds, you do get a little bit of blurring in the mirrors. Here I am doing, what, 45 down this road, and they're absolutely clear as you like, and they work fine, but might be something to consider, you know, changing those out if you were going to get this bike, perhaps. But what a hoot of a bike. I mean, at the end of the day, the bike is just a cool machine. It looks good and it makes you feel good, so in my book, that's the most important thing about bikes. Let me just try the brakes on here. It's got Brembo calipers front and back. Oh, they feel beautifully responsive, and there's not too much fork dive on the front as well, which I like, which is sometimes an issue with this type of bike. So those front forks set up relatively stiff to stop that diving, which I see as a good thing. Right, one of my favourite little stopping points up here to do a walk around. Let's see if there's no one parked in it. We'll pull over up here, and I'll walk you around the bike and talk you through the spec in the usual way. Alrighty, let's just pull over on this gravelly bit. Okay, nice and easy to find neutral. I love this presentation. There's a little gear wheel there on the display. Let me put it back into first. Look, as I change gear, the little gear wheel turns round and it shows you what gear you're in. I just love that. Just a novelty factor. Right, I'm in neutral. Stand is easy to find with a big lip on the side, or an extra leg, so you can get the stand there nice and easily. It's keyless ignition, not something I'm a huge fan of, but there we go, it's here. So no key to turn, you just hit the stop button. Alrighty. Okay, let's show you this. This is the model in black. It comes in a couple of colours, but I have to say, in black, in the flesh, this looks really nice bike. Also got this little bikini screen type thing that works really well on here. It does keep the airflow nice and smooth, and also we've got the optional bag on the side here, because I'm going to be carrying some kit on the bike in the next couple of days, so I asked Triumph if I could borrow that. So that's what the bag looks like. It's quite a big bag as well. Anyway, let me get the other camera out, my phone, and I'll talk you through the spec in the usual way. Looks better this side, by the way, with the pipe, doesn't it? Right, let me get the phone out and I'll talk you through the spec. Okay, here we go then. Hopefully you can see that okay. Right then, to the spec then. As I mentioned, 1200cc engine, parallel twin of course, and it's got the 270-degree crank on this, so it makes that nice sound through that Scrambler style exhaust on here. 89 brake horsepower it puts out at 7,400 RPM, exactly the same as the XE. The torque on this 3,950 the torque is 110 Newton meters at 3,950 RPM. The brakes, if we come round to the brakes, they're very good on here. And I get criticised sometimes for always calling Brembos proper brakes, but these are proper Brembo brakes on here. Great stopping power. Dual discs on the front, 320mm discs with Brembo M50s, 4-pot, so proper brakes. I'll no doubt be criticised for that. And on the back, we've got a Brembo 2-pot. Here we go. There we go, and that disc is a 255mm disc, and the brakes work really, really well. Suspension, as I mentioned, is fully adjustable on the XC, and on this particular bike it has 45mm adjustable shower forks, upside down forks, and this is one of the differences with the XE. The XE has 47mm, so slightly chunkier, and the one, the XC, sorry about all this swap between the two, 200mm travel on this one. On the XE you get 250mm travel. Alrighty, let's come around this way then. Seat height on here, I think I mentioned it was 830, actually it's 840mm, but for me at 5'8", I can get my feet flat on the deck. Again, the XE is 870, so considerably taller on that bike. The weight of this, 205 kilograms, which is a couple of kilograms lighter than the XE, so that's another good reason for getting this one. The tank on here, 16-litre tank. Beautiful tank, actually. I love the way that they've done this, the Triumph logo or writing in that sort of raised version. Very nice indeed, and the black looks really, really nice in the flesh. Electronics wise, it's got 4 rider modes plus a customizable one, which is just called Rider. It's got TFT I talked about, ABS of course, keyless ignition, it's got LED lighting, cruise control, it's got a USB socket for charging your phone, etc. And the price of this, according to the website, is from 11,500, and the XE is from 12,300. So, you know, about 1,800 quid difference between the two bikes. This one comes in this black colour, or there's like a green combination, and I'm glad to say it does have a fuel gauge, by the way, and you can get the various inspiration kits and things like that and accessories available for the bike. I think it's pretty handsome. I mean, and again, it's got the amazing these days Triumph build quality. I mean, just things like I love the little red spark plug caps on these, which are very retro looking. Just the fit and finish of everything on this is beautiful. I like the brown seat. What I don't very much like, this rear end here definitely needs a tail tidy. I like the indicators, but this plastic bit would need to go. Do like the brushed aluminium mudguard. Same on the front, no plastic here. Proper metal mudguard, which I like very much indeed. Anyway, okay, so that's the way the bike looks. Let me jump back on and we'll ride her some more. Alrighty, let's bring her back to life again then. Stand up and that one to bring her back to life. This is what the TFT thing looks like when you bring her to life. And I like the way you got a personalised message here. It said "Good afternoon, Flower" when it started, which was quite fun. Alright. Sounds absolutely awesome, that exhaust. I love it. So as you may have gathered, I've borrowed this bike from, not from a dealer actually, but from Triumph UK up at Hinckley from the factory. So this in fact is my next long-term loaner. So I've got this bike for the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to be making quite a few videos on the machine. So if you are interested in the Triumph Scrambler, stick around and stay tuned to the Biscuit Fly. There'll be lots more coming, including my in-depth review. Once I've ridden it for many more rides, a few hundred miles, and had it for a couple of weeks, I'll give you my in-depth review that'll give you the pros and cons that I've learnt, plus things like running costs. I'm going to do some research on how much it costs to service and so on and insure, and I'll bring you some other videos besides, I'm sure, so do stick around for those. Handling through these B roads is just lovely. As a sort of back lane scratcher, it's a great bike. I won't be pulling over there and taking some pictures. That's Checkers. I've got form there now, so I won't be pulling in there. I'm just summing up in my mind whether I'm going to be brave enough to take this bike and do a bit of green laning on it while I've got it. I think I might give it a try, because unlike the XE, as I said, I can get my feet flat on the deck on this, so it doesn't feel intimidating to ride. So I may well, during my time with it, try a bit of off-roading on it as well. So if you're interested in that, do stick around. So that's pretty much it for my first impressions review. Nothing really bad to say about it at this stage, other than a bit of blurring from the mirrors and an annoying you know, confusion between the indicator and the little joystick to control the various functions on the TFT. But that's the only things I've found so far, and lots to like about it, not least grunt from this engine, and the sound, and the styling and the fit and finish on the bike. Very, very nice indeed. So looking forward to getting to ride her a bit more over the next few days and weeks. Alrighty, that's my first impressions review of the Triumph Scrambler 1200 XC. I hope you found that of some interest, and if you've not done so already, it'd be fantastic to have you subscribe down below to the channel. I don't just do bike reviews here on the Missing and Fly, but I do trips and tours at home and abroad. I do bits and pieces in the garage about how to look after your bike. I do live streams, I do bike news, basically anything and everything to do with motorcycles. I try and cover it here on the Missing and Fly. It'd be great to have you join me on the next video. Alright, that's it for now. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Missing and Fly. Cheerio.